beautiful day in Manhattan, and here we are today talking about one of my favorite makeup techniques called airbrushing. And for this, we have a very special guest with us, Jenai. She's a celebrity makeup artist here in New York, and she has done many celebrities, runways, and fashion shows. So tell us more about yourself.
Well, I've been a professional makeup artist for about 16 years, probably airbrushing about 10 to 12 years. I've worked on lots of different, about 16 seasons of Fashion Week. I've done several celebrities, movies, TV shows, Broadway shows, fashion magazines, so pretty experienced. Yeah, I think it's just a good thing for people to know a little bit more about airbrushing.
Right, and how has your journey been so far?
I've had a great ride. My career has been really interesting. I've had many really great experiences, good and bad. I have many stories. I've been very lucky to do what I love to do and to be able to teach that to other people and kind of just pass on the passion that I have so that people can continue on with the generation of makeup artists that are coming up.
Wow. Have you received any traditional, professional training for this?
I did only receive training for airbrushing. My makeup career has kind of been self-taught and also through the process of assisting other makeup artists. But the only thing that I did get proper airbrushing training was when the first time I did it was with a makeup artist, which is a very different process than getting trained by somebody who does an old school art way of airbrushing. So the first time I did it with her, and then I did it with my friends a couple years later who had trained me for a little over a year, and I learned amazing things. He had been airbrushing for about 25 years at that point, and now he's been airbrushing for about maybe 30 or more years. And he just knew the proper and right way of airbrushing, and I was just really determined on the right way to do it to avoid a lot of the mistakes that I was seeing. So I was fortunate enough to learn from him.
Wow. And you always knew you wanted to be a makeup artist?
No, I didn't. I actually was just trained to be an artist. My original training was in fine arts and illustration. I still do that. I actually draw still for a living. I still use my artwork on bodies. It's just different than drawing it on paper versus a person. So for me, my background has always been art. I'm an artist, whether I'm a makeup artist or painting or drawing, it's still just art in general, and I still just do that.
Wow. So Jenai, back in India, in the last few years, we're hearing more about this technique called airbrushing. So please tell our viewers what really it is.
What?
That's okay.
So airbrushing, the thing about airbrushing is great is you have a very flawless finish. I think people really like it because of that. I think that that's probably one of the best options that you have with it. You have flawless finish, you have perfect skin. People really like to look like they were photoshopped, and it has that really pretty dewy skin if you're using dewy skin, or really perfect matte skin if you're using matte foundation. The thing that I think a lot of people also like about it is that you don't have to worry about cleaning 20 different brushes. You just have one airbrush. It's also very sanitary. You don't have to worry about it touching other people and getting cross-contamination, where it can travel with bacteria, rashes, eye infections, all kinds of different things that come with applying makeup by hand. You actually don't have any contact with the skin, so it's a very sanitary way of applying makeup. Also that it's just really fast.
So is it a very old technique, or is it been recently introduced?
Well, airbrushing has been around for a long time, but originally it was used for photos and for artwork. It's been around from the beginning of the century, or 19th century, and people were using it for eliminating mistakes in pictures, or you hear people say, I want to look like I was airbrushed, or that celebrity looks so airbrushed. It's something that people use for photos. It's still, the same technique is still used. We use Photoshop for it, but it was actually used by real airbrush back in the day. It then eventually transferred over into art, where you would see it more for cars, motorcycles, t-shirts. Some people would use it on the beaches for caricatures and memes and all kinds of art techniques. But I think that when it started coming into makeup was probably the late 90s, early 2000s. I remember seeing it being developed around 2001, 2002, and it really got into the full swing around 2006. So I had the privilege of kind of like being a part of a company that was developing that, and I got to see how the company really brought airbrushing into the makeup industry. But it hasn't been around that long. I mean, really started developing in the early 2000s, so you're saying maybe like 12 to 15 years it's been around? Yeah.
Right. And what are the challenges that you faced when you were airbrushing through? Please share experience. I think you learn from everybody's mistake.
Yeah, that's the most important thing about learning is making sure that you learn how to do something the right way and not to make those same mistakes over and over again and pass that over on to other people. I think the most important thing about airbrushing for me was learning how to control my trigger. When I would see a lot of people airbrushing, I would see people pull back on the trigger and just spray, and I wasn't seeing any fine detail. I couldn't do things like faces or artwork or detail. I couldn't do any of that stuff, and I couldn't figure out why, and a lot of the reason was because I had no control over my airbrush. So when I did my training with my friends, he showed me how to do airbrushing the right way, and when we learned how to do airbrushing the right way, I was able to do a lot more detail work, and that was all in controlling my trigger. He would really show me how to do like the dumbest exercises, and I hated them, but I didn't know at the time that he was teaching me and training me to control myself. So it was really a lot of lines and dots and like learning how to blend and going back and forth with my finger, and I would just constantly be doing this, and that got me used to just using the airbrush the right way. So that was the hardest part in airbrushing, and doing the same thing over and over again to get used to that motion and understanding how to really properly use the airbrush. That was the hardest.
And what do you think most of the makeup artists make mistake in when they're airbrushing?
The circles on the face, it's definitely, it's something that in old school airbrush artists called holidays. So when you spray in circles, you'll get holes. That's what they call it. So it's like a break. You take a break or like a vacation, so you have like these holes in the face. So it's not an even spray. Some people will even have very blotchy skin because of it, or they'll spray too much makeup to cover up those holes, and you're just wearing way more makeup than you need to be wearing. So that's the most common mistake is people just pull back and they spray, and that's just not airbrushing. That's just putting makeup on the face, but you're doing this and then you end up with blotchy, patchy skin. The right way is controlling your trigger, being able to pull back and forth and spraying in even patterns. So you kind of almost do it as if you're doing painting. Like when you paint a wall, you don't paint a wall like this. When you're painting a surface or a table or anything, you never paint like this. You paint kind of in a stroking motion, or you go back and forth until you have even layers covering it. So they almost overlap, but that's the right way of doing it, and really learning how to use your fingers so that you can go back and forth.
Right. So in America, do people use airbrush more often than the brides and the runways, the shows? Like what do you use airbrush for in America?
Definitely brides. That's the most common thing that I have people come to me for training with airbrush. People want to know how to do perfect bridal makeup, and they feel that they can charge a little bit more with the airbrush because it's a very specific technique that they learn. Not everybody can do it, and it's true. The makeup is also different, so you're having something that's a little bit more refined, and I think that they feel like brides are much more inclined to have something that looks perfect all day than do something that they might have to touch up during.
And I've heard a lot of myths, and I want to break those myths today, that airbrush is for a specific kind of skin texture, or like only for oily skins, or only for the month of summers. Like, please break that myth today for us and tell us that what is it really like? Is airbrush for a specific kind of skin conditions?
Well, airbrushing is really just a technique of applying makeup. It's not necessarily what the product is. It's the same thing like applying makeup by hand. You have several different kinds of makeups. There's some makeup that's very sheer. There's some makeups that are very opaque, some that are very matte, and some that are very dewy. So same thing like airbrushing. Depending on the product you pick to put through the airbrush is the finish that you're going to get. So say if you do have somebody who has oily skin, you would use something as a primer that would absorb the oil, and then you would put on a product that would be complementary to the oily skin and hold up throughout the day. There's some airbrush makeups that are very matte, so maybe somebody who's used to using something more matte would be happier with that because of the oily skin. There's some people who do like having very fresh, dewy skin that looks very natural, doesn't look like they're wearing a lot of makeup. it really depends on the client, and I feel like people should try different things. But I want people to understand just the airbrush alone does not make what the finish of the makeup is going to be, as just the process of putting it on, and whatever you put into the product, into the airbrush is the product that you're going to get out.
And so what products would you suggest to the viewers? Like what should they check out when checking out a makeup artist? What products should the makeup artist have in their bag?
Right. Well, with airbrushing, I feel like they should have a range, because there's so many different skin types and so many people like different things. Definitely, there should be at least a matte or a dewy finish, something that they can try to see either one. I don't have any particular one that I stick with, as long as it's something that the makeup artist is familiar with, understand what's in the ingredients, know how the finish is going to lay, and can do a test with you so that you can see how it's going to look by the end of the trial. That is the most important thing to me, is just making sure they have options for you.
And at the end, please tell our viewers, like our brides and our makeup artists who is watching this video, about a few tips and suggestions that you would like to give, and they should keep in mind and remember while doing it.
Very important to just do your research. Make sure that the artist that you are going to get your makeup done by has experience in doing bridal makeup. They're not just starting out, and if they are just starting out, maybe you feel comfortable with them enough to let them try it out on you, but I would definitely do a test beforehand. Find out what kind of makeup that they are going to be using. Do a trial always beforehand and make sure that it holds up for the day, where throughout the day test it. I usually say try it with a water test, which is to sprinkle your face with a little bit of water. If you are doing it for bridal makeup, maybe you want to see how it holds up to crying, kissing, all day wear. Also maybe in a very hot environment where you're going to be sweating. A lot of times there's dancing and there's all kinds of activity. People are hugging you and kissing you, and there's a lot of things that are happening that day. So if it is for brides, that's something that's really important to people. Or if it's a special event, you just want to see how it's going to look for that night. But it's an important thing to do. Just do your research. Look at the artist's portfolio. Maybe get recommendations. I don't know if they have reviews where you are, but a lot of makeup artists do have reviews. They have blogs. They have, Instagrams. How many followers they have. How many people they've worked on. I think that's really important, just to have a good backing and feel comfortable with who's going to be working with you.
Right. Great. Thank you so much, Jenai. It was wonderful talking to you. I'm so glad I learned my art of airbrushing from you. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.